The first time I realized my retirement wasn't mine anymore was when my grandson complained that my pension had arrived late. Not asked, complained. He knew the exact day my money was supposed to hit the account. I didn't. That should have frightened me. Instead, I apologized. My name is Dorothy Collins. I am 93 years old. For nearly 4 years, the retirement I spent a lifetime earning became the income my entire family depended on. And the strangest part, they convinced me that was exactly what a good mother was supposed to do. I wish I had understood sooner that generosity without boundaries doesn't create gratitude, it creates expectations. People think retirement begins when you stop working. Mine began long before that. Every Friday afternoon, I'd take $15 from my paycheck, walk into the credit union, and put it into an account nobody else knew about. Not because I distrusted anyone, because my father used to say, a woman should always have money that answers only to her. For 49 years, I worked as a bookkeeper. I balanced other people's accounts all day. Then I came home and balanced my own. By the time I retired, I wasn't wealthy, but I had enough to never ask anybody for help. That mattered to me more than I can explain. Everything changed during my 91st birthday. It wasn't intentional. My grandson Evan was helping me organize paperwork. He opened the wrong folder. There was my pension statement. There was my savings. There were the monthly deposits. He didn't say anything. Not that day. But after that, everyone suddenly became interested in my finances. My daughter started asking if I needed help paying bills. My grandson insisted on driving me to the bank. My niece wanted to organize my paperwork. I remember thinking, how wonderful. My family is becoming so thoughtful. Looking back, they weren't becoming thoughtful. They were becoming informed. It never starts with thousands. It starts with $50. Grandma, I'll pay you back Friday. Then 100. Mom, things are tight this month. Then 200. Just until next paycheck. Every request came with a promise. Every promise sounded temporary. I kept a notebook, not because I expected repayment, just because, well, old bookkeepers write everything down. One evening, I added every loan together. $23,000. I stared at that number for a long time. Then I closed the notebook and convinced myself family isn't accounting. Family is love. That sentence cost me far more than $23,000. Then something happened that I still struggle to explain. Nobody asked me for money anymore. They simply expected it. My daughter would call and say, Mom, don't forget the mortgage comes out tomorrow. Not my mortgage, hers. As if my pension arriving had become part of her household budget. My grandson Evan stopped saying, can I borrow a little? Instead, he'd say, Grandma, my truck payment is Friday. Then he'd wait. Not because he was asking, because he believed I already knew what came next. I started noticing something strange. The day my retirement check arrived, my phone became very busy. My children suddenly remembered to call. My grandchildren suddenly remembered I existed. The conversations were always warm, always loving, until the money was gone. Then, silence. I began dreading the first Tuesday of every month, not because of bills, because I knew my retirement had become everyone else's payday. One Sunday, I invited everyone over. Nothing unusual. Roast chicken, mashed potatoes, the same apple pie I'd baked every Thanksgiving for nearly 40 years. Halfway through dinner, my grandson looked at me and smiled. Grandma, don't forget, I need that 800 this week. 800. He said it in front of everyone, like asking someone to pass the salt. Nobody looked surprised. Nobody even looked uncomfortable. Instead, my daughter said, Mom, while you're helping Evan, could you cover Amanda's daycare this month too? Then my son spoke, and Dad's old watch still needs repairing. One request became another, then another, then another. I sat there listening, and for the first time, I realized something. Nobody had asked me how I was doing. Nobody asked if I needed anything. The only thing everyone at that table knew about me was that my pension had arrived 3 days earlier. I don't remember how the pie tasted. I only remember feeling expensive. That night, I pulled out the little notebook I'd kept for years. Every loan, every transfer, every check, every promise. I sharpened a pencil and started adding one page, then another, then another. $48,300. I checked the math twice. Then three times. It wasn't wrong. $48,000. Enough to replace my roof. Enough to travel somewhere I'd always wanted to see. Enough to make the last years of my life a little easier. Instead, it had disappeared one small favor at a time. What hurt wasn't the number. It was the dates. Some promises were 10 years old. I'll pay you back next month. Some of the people who made those promises couldn't even remember making them. I suddenly understood something. When money leaves little by little, people stop calling it taking. They call it helping. The next month, my grandson called, Grandma, I need 600. For the first time in years, I said one word, no. There was silence for so long, I thought the call had dropped. Then he laughed. Actually, I laughed. Come on, Grandma. I said it again. No. His voice changed immediately. After everything we've done for you, I sat there looking around my little living room. The same curtains I'd sewn myself, the same rocking chair I'd bought with overtime pay in 1982. Everything in that room I had paid for. What exactly had they done for me? That question stayed with me long after we hung up. Sometimes people mistake access for generosity, and when you finally close the door, they call you selfish. The following Friday, I went back to my credit union, the same one I'd been walking into for more than 50 years. The young woman behind the counter smiled and asked, "How can I help you today, Mrs. Collins?" I said, "I'd like to open an account that belongs only to me." She smiled. Of course. Such simple words. Of course. Nobody questioned me. Nobody asked whether my children approved. Nobody asked whether my grandchildren would be upset. For the first time in years, my retirement looked like retirement again. Not a family payroll, not an emergency fund, not a reward for other people's poor planning. Mine. I've learned something at 93. If someone becomes disappointed the moment you stop giving them money, they weren't protecting the relationship. They were protecting the arrangement. So if you're watching me today, let me leave you with this. Kindness is a beautiful thing. Generosity is a beautiful thing. But neither of them should cost you your peace. Your retirement is not everyone else's reward. You earned it. Don't be afraid to let it stay yours. And I'd like to ask you something before you go. Have you ever had to tell someone no after saying yes for far too many years? Leave your answer below. I'll be reading every one, every single one. There is one more thing. I have been sitting with another story, something that happened to a woman I knew for 31 years. Something about what it costs a person to keep the peace in a family for so long that they forget what their own peace felt like. I am going to tell that story next. If you want to hear it, the subscribe button is right there. It costs you nothing. And I promise you, I will not waste your time. I am 93 years old. I do not have time to waste yours, and neither do you.